Good evening again, everyone. Kevin Crouch here with South Metro Weather. We are dropping below freezing quickly across our area here. Let me just quickly get the temperatures to pull up on the screen. They've been wanting to not cooperate so much. Uh, Today, I'm using a new program. It's a great program, but unfortunately, I'm quickly finding out that this thing is a little more temperamental sometimes than I want it to be. And I suppose that we sometimes can see the heaviest feature programs be the ones that sometimes tend to mess up a little bit. So here's temperatures, the latest as we have them. And this is an update as of, let's see, what are we seeing here? Looks like the latest about 6:55, so just before 7 o'clock there at Midway Regional Airport. So here's the temperatures, the latest that we have: 32 Hillsborough, so they're right on that freezing line, 39 in Corsicana, 30 in Waxahachie, and 25 there in Cleburne, 25 in Cleburne, 21 in Granbury and Stephenville, almost already down in the teens there. So you can see across our area there is quite a difference in these temperatures. And let me just see if I can get this camera focused in a little bit better, because we definitely need that. So we're going to continue to drop the temperatures out there, and here in Waxahachie at least, the drizzle continues. I was just outside about maybe 15 minutes ago, and the drizzle was still coming down. This is now freezing drizzle. It is freezing on surfaces. And as we get into the 28, 27 degree range, we will be looking at the greater likelihood that the roads will be freezing. So I'll be going out there in just a moment after this broadcast. I've got one of those little temperature guns, and I can test the temperature of the surface and actually figure out if those roads are icing or not. A lot of folks are asking what schools are going to do. It's starting to sound like the schools are going to wait until tomorrow morning. I think I've seen NS say this, Waxahachie kind of inferred this with their message, that they are going to wait until morning. As you remember last time, they made calls the night before because of all the uncertainty, and it turned out that we actually lucked out and didn't quite get as bad as we thought, and people raked them over the coals. Now, people will find out that it's a lot easier to complain about a problem than actually try to, maybe understand what goes into it to actually make that happen. So give them a little space, don't you think? That would be, I think, a little grace, I think, goes a long way. So across our area, though, I mean, you can't really argue with these temperatures, and it is generally a good thing here that the heavier precipitation has moved out. But we do still have, and you can see one of those little things moving right there, just that light shower there now near Terrell. We do have more precipitation that is falling at this time. And in fact, you guys in different parts of our area can give me a little more information in terms of what you're seeing. But if you watch I'm going to step out of the way of the animation here, you can see the way that the temperatures just continue to drop area wide there as that front moves on and that freezing line advances. Corsicana, you're still at about 39 degrees, just drop below 40. And then the rest of our area, basically most of it is at or below freezing at this time. If you're looking for snow, unfortunately, I have to tell you that I don't really expect snow to be part of this equation. This is going to be an ice event. Let me move this over just a little bit here. This is going to be an ice event, and I do expect to see at least some ice across our area, perhaps less in Johnson County, maybe the northern half of Hill County where there wasn't as much rain. Southern Hill County, Navarro County, and parts of Ellis County really had more rain today and got more rain than I expected. We're at a solid 1/10 of an inch of rain from today. I expected to see drizzle just kind of off and on today. We have had some kind of precipitation falling the majority of the day here in Waxahachie, and I'm hearing that is the case in other parts of our area as well. So we're definitely in a potentially dangerous situation here because of the black ice potential. And yes, Nathan, like you just said, lots of black ice. So Midlothian, about 20 minutes or so ago, maybe a little earlier than that, already reporting icicles and some ice accumulation on elevated surfaces. I think like a table and railings and stairs and those kinds of things. And yeah, Ashland's saying it's still raining there in Burleson. So we're still seeing falling precipitation here area wide. This is going to add to what was already on the ground. This is also going to inhibit some of the the what am I trying to say? The evaporation. There we go. Words, right? It's been a long day already. But the evaporation that we're kind of expecting, or at least we're hoping for, off of those roads, if we still have precipitation falling, not so much going to be the case. And we're, like I say, we're dropping below freezing area wide. So Waxahachie, Ellis County already at the 30-degree mark. As we continue to drop below 30, we start getting into road freezing range. Already 28 in Burleson, 25 in Cleburne there. So that's what we're going to continue to have to contend with. And I may or may not have the Texas Tech basketball game going on another screen. So if I look down that direction, I may or may not be watching the Texas Tech Red Raiders show their basketball prowess to the TCU Horned Frogs. So just, may or may not be going on there. So that's the situation. And if we zoom this out a little bit, we can get a better taste of what to expect, or what we're seeing, at least, farther to the west and north. We're already at 16 degrees, way up north in the Bowie area, I think. Mineral Wells, 18 degrees. Abilene, 18 degrees. 19 degrees there west of Weatherford. So it is cold. It is very, very cold. And we're already seeing teens north and west of our area. Brownwood sitting at 19 degrees at this point. Just west of there is Stephenville here, 21 degrees. So we're already 21 in Granbury. So we're already almost to the teens, and it's just after 7 o'clock. So we're going to continue to get colder here as we keep going, and as the night keeps progressing, the cold air continues to move in. So freezing air, very much freezing air. We're beyond freezing at this point. Very, very cold freezing air, and continued precipitation. We're just racking up the ice accumulation at this point. And that's to say nothing of the fact that early in the morning, temperatures will be dangerously cold. That's why we had that extreme cold warning that includes all four counties in our area. That is going to be a very, very dangerous factor. And that may very well motivate these schools to cancel classes in the morning, or at least delay them potentially, because we're going to be looking at temperatures that are dangerously cold for those who have to walk to school, those who have to bike to school, those who have to wait for the bus. And it's not like you can say, oh, it's 7:15, the bus is going to be here in 30 seconds, so now I can go outside and just wait a minute. No, you have to wait around, and bus routes will be moving slower, which means they have to wait more time. They have to wait around a little longer for that bus to arrive and to, try to time it right so they get out there and don't miss it. So plenty of risk to students and also to staff who have to be outside taking care of things. So yeah, it's just it's just not a good situation for those students early in the morning. Very, very cold temperatures, and it will continue to stay that way. Chris Andrade, I saw your comment. You're asking about you're asking if DFW is going to be an ice rink. Here's the thing: I don't think it's going to be like 2021. I just don't. It's not, for one, it's not going to be this extended period under freezing. Additionally, the ice issue will be there where most of the precipitation was today. Johnson County did not get as much rain as parts of Hill, Navarro, and Ellis counties here. However, we are getting more, at this point, freezing drizzle in Johnson County. So it may be kind of hit and miss as to where we have the worst conditions for the icing across our area. And the Metroplex, Some areas get a little more rain than others, so there may be parts of North Texas that, although they're very cold in the morning, may not have that much ice. There will be other parts of our area that have more. We definitely, in this part of our area, saw more rain than we expected today. That went on into Kaufman County there as well. But for our four-county area, Ellis Hill, Johnson, and Navarro, we definitely saw more rain, I think, than what was expected, and that mostly, for the most part, has stuck around. And now that we're dropping below freezing in our area, that will be a concern. So ice will be a concern in the morning. I already heard around 6:15, 6:30 or so, and was getting reports. In fact, I'm getting some information now. So I'm getting a report from someone in Midlothian that their vehicle has ice on it, even after they're driving around in it. So temperatures are very, very, very quickly dropping, and we're very quickly forming ice out there in our area. So this needs to be taken seriously, folks. And, I know that everyone, not everyone, but a majority of you, I would say, have been having quite a bit of fun making fun of the decision to close school last time, saying, oh, they closed for a bunch of rain. Well, of course, if we knew it was just going to be rain on the backside of it, there wouldn't have been those cancellations. Hindsight's always 20/20. Nobody likes to actually sit down and actually think through these processes. It's easier and lazier just to joke about it, right? But we have to definitely consider the fact that there's plenty of water on the ground, on the roads, and we're going to be very, very cold. We are definitely going to be colder than we were, and there's more moisture on the ground. Last time, a lot of what happened was that we were right on that line of 32, 33 degrees. Not the case this time. We will be in the teens overnight. So there's no question here of whether we're going to be freezing or not. That was the issue last time. This time, no question at all. We will be very, very deep in the freezing range. So, we already have, so hearing cars are already iced over in downtown Midlothian. So in Midlothian, vehicles are already iced over. It's 30 degrees. Granted, probably closer to 29, 28 at this point. We're headed for the upper teens. Just think about the ice in the morning when we've had a chance to really, really cool down. Give me 1 second here. So Priscilla Ruiz, that's what we're kind of trying to figure out, is what will tomorrow be like, and that's what I'm saying is tomorrow morning. We're probably looking at least in our area, at least in those areas that have gotten quite a bit of rain today. If we are now, we're talking Johnson County. Well, you're already at 25 degrees, so anything that falls in Johnson County, any kind of precip there is just going to immediately freeze. There's not much discussion about evaporation there, I don't think. In Ronan, no school closures at this point. Sounds like the schools are going to wait until morning, but I can tell you right now, if they get out there at 3, 4 in the morning, there's going to be some slipping and sliding go around. So I would urge caution on those. No schools, no school announcements. Nobody has announced at this point. Nobody. I know there's going to be a lot of folks asking about that, but no schools have announced, or at least none of them have contacted me yet, and I don't anticipate that they will. So I'm just looking back in the comments here. Yeah, definitely, if you have reports, and make sure too, if you're reporting something in the comments saying, hey, here's the conditions where I live, let me know what those conditions are so that we have a better idea of, or let me know what the conditions are and where your location is. Let me know where you're located so that I know, I get a better idea of, hey, it's doing this in this location. That will definitely help me to get a better idea. And Kenneth Hicks, you're asking, is that wise? Well, here's the thing. They were raked over the coals so intensely by the public after they closed last time and we didn't get the freeze that we were thinking could happen, that now they want to play on the safe side of public ridicule, frankly, and wait until morning. That's the thing. You got to understand that when there's not public trust in those administrators, it's going to influence how they process these things and how they work. So if you want them, now here's the problem. It's like I said earlier, and it was like the post I said earlier. Some would complain schools canceled too early. Some will complain that they canceled too late. You have to understand, there are some people that they go on Facebook, all they do is complain, right? So there will be people that continue to complain regardless of what these schools decide. And I think that's why no schools have decided yet. They're going to wait until tomorrow morning when everybody's getting up to go to work and school, and that's when they find out, oh, it's icy out here. And then they have a less of a chance of people being upset. Of course, there are people who are planners and they like to plan ahead, like myself. You can ask my wife. But we like to plan ahead, and we would love to know today what's going to happen tomorrow. But unfortunately, too many people gave them too much ridicule for last time that they're just going to, they're just going to wait around, wait and see, and take their time. So one question, what would be the highest end lake effect snow event, especially for areas south of a big lake DFW? That's kind of worded strange, but I think what you mean is I guess I can speak to the probability of some lake effect snow here. So it is possible overnight we could get some lake effect snow. If that happens, it's unclear whether we will see it in our area. Now there's Joe Pool Lake, which is right in the Cedar Hill area. If anything, we may see some lake effect from maybe in the Midlothian area, maybe in parts of Waxahachie over towards Alvarado, Venus from that. Now, how far lake effect snow is going to travel, it's hard to say. It's hard to say exactly because lake effect snow is kind of its own thing. So I would say that lake effect snow, it is possible. However, it's not something to count on to be sure. The one time I remember getting lake effect snow from those lakes, it was kind of a surprise. So don't count on it by any means. Just so that's clear. Not really something that we can really think about. And folks are going to continue to ask in the comments if schools are closing. No schools have announced yet. No schools have announced that they are closing. So let me see. Let me actually put that in there. And somebody asked me about the Ennis area. All of this applies to the entire area. So that's, we'll specify one way or the other if we need to, but this all pretty much applies to our whole area. And I know that there's kiddos that are praying for schools to close out there, but we're just going to have to wait until tomorrow morning. We have southmetroweather.com/closures set up and ready to go, but for the moment, we don't have anything really to put there. I had one business in Ferris that reached out to us and said that they are closed, but that's the only closure that I've gotten. No other city or county governments have announced, no schools, no other businesses have announced at this point. I think everybody is pretty much going to wait until morning because of what happened that last time around. So area-wide, you can see that we're below freezing from Waxahachie over to Cleburne. Hillsboro's right on that freezing line. I would say if Hillsboro's probably below freezing now. That report was still several minutes ago, I believe. Let's see, when was that? 6:55. So yeah, they're probably just below freezing now. And then Corsicana, you're still right around 39 degrees. You'll be the last ones in our area to get below freezing because that line is moving from west to east. But here's the thing. It's a quick drop-off once you get below freezing. So 30 at Midway Regional Airport in Midlothian, 25 in Cleburne, 21 in Granbury and in Stephenville. So a big, quick drop-off where we're almost in the teens, just a few counties away. And I'm seeing that Tech and TCU are tied here. Thankfully, there's a lot of basketball to be played. Angie Murphy, no schools are closing. No schools have announced. I didn't specify any because we haven't had any reports of any school closures at this point. So no reports at this time of any schools making that decision. They probably will not make that decision until tomorrow morning. We have a couple of warnings in place. Well, a couple of advisories and alerts, I would say. One is the extreme cold warning, which covers all 4 of our counties. And then there is the winter weather advisory, which covers just Ellis and Johnson counties at this point. They amended that a short time ago to include Kaufman and areas, a couple of areas on to the east. But at this point, there is nothing new for our particular area as far as the winter weather advisory, only covering Ellis and Johnson at this point. I would argue that Hill County at very least should be added to that, probably Navarro County as well, because we could very well see more drizzle, more freezing drizzle overnight in those areas. So we'll see what they do. But ultimately at this point, the only alert that covers all of our area is that extreme cold warning that takes into effect the temperatures in the teens that we will have overnight, as well as wind chill factors below 0. I'm curious to see what the National Weather Service is forecasting for at least the Waxahachie area overnight here. Okay, so a low, they're saying a low around 20. I'm thinking we're going to be colder than that. So I guess we'll see what ends up happening there. But I'm fairly certain that we will be below 20, and that's a forecast for the Midway Regional Airport. Now we'll see what happens there. So we may be a little, just a little, maybe a little warmer in Corsicana. So they'll be the last ones to get below freezing. They may hang around just above the teens there, but still expecting plenty of cold air there in the Corsicana area. And Lexi, you're reporting very light snowfall in Red Oak right now. What you're probably getting there is more of a freezing drizzle area-wide. I don't think we're quite to the point of getting any kind of snow at this point. Mostly just going to be a freezing drizzle kind of situation. It can look like snow the way it blows around because it's a very light particle, especially when it's frozen at that point. But unfortunately, not really expecting any snow at this point, unless it's lake effect snow, which would probably be, I think, later tonight, if that is the case. And Chris Andrade reporting from Ferris ISD that they are monitoring the conditions, and as of now, asking everyone to dress as warm as possible. They will update through the night. So pretty much the same thing, the same kind of situation here, where they're going to wait until morning. I think and generally especially with Ellis County, and I've seen this pretty much be the case everywhere, the major school districts will be the ones to kind of inspect things. The smaller districts all kind of fall into place. So we just had an update in temperatures here, 28 degrees at Midway Regional Airport there. So you get 28 and below, that's where you start freezing the roads. 23. Look at that change. 23 degrees in Cleburne. So we're already in the low 20s in Cleburne, and that is going to be the trend that we see. Again, that sharp drop-off once you get behind that freezing line. And reporting sleet, so there's probably a fine line, no pun intended, a fine line between freezing, drizzle, and sleet. So I could probably go either way on that. It's if we're getting sleet and more so than just freezing drizzle, then that's something. Okay, so we've got a report. Somebody saying Mansfield ISD is closed. I've not heard that. Let me check in on a source there. We're either going to break some news or dispel some misinformation here. So we'll see. And Chris Andrade, 19 degrees. That is Granbury. That's just dropped into the teens. So yes, the Granbury area just to our west is already at 19 degrees. There, 21 in Stephenville. They're not very far away. And Marcia saying that her thermometer is reading 34 degrees at Interstate 45, excuse me, and Highway 34. So right there at that conjunction, they're looking at right around 34 degrees, and that sounds about right because you're not quite below the freezing mark. Now, a report from Mansfield ISD that they are closed. I do not believe that is correct. I'm going to research that really quickly. Just got a report, just got confirmation there that they are monitoring that, but not that they are closed. So yeah, no report at this point that Mansfield ISD is closed. And so that was a comment that came up a few minutes ago, but that is not accurate information there. So so we did get a comment that Mansfield ISD is closed, but again, that is erroneous information, and that is not accurate. So Mansfield ISD monitoring like the rest of them, probably going to wait until early tomorrow morning, which doesn't bode well for me because I got to sleep one of these days. But I don't think much of that will be happening here because we will be watching temperatures continue to drop here as we get into the next several hours. And again, you can see what's interesting about this is that we had an upper level low, or a surface low actually, that came in southwest of Fort Worth. So that kind of pulled the coldest air kind of back this way. And so what you can see here is where that colder air was swirling around that low. Well, now you've got the coldest temperatures here, Stephenville, Granbury, Cleburne, and a little warmer, and you got a little heat island effect there too, but a little warmer up into the Metroplex, colder down here to the south. Of course, there's more rural areas here too. So that is the kind of the situation here. So northern counties below freezing. Hillsborough still sitting right around that freezing mark. Corsicana still right around 39 degrees. So the freezing air has not quite gotten to Corsicana. Stephanie Smith, with the wind blowing so hard, will that not dry things up even if below freezing? To some degree, possibly, but it wouldn't be as effective at evaporating ice as it would be as evaporating liquid. So that's kind of the situation that we're looking at here. And also, sometimes those winds have that evaporative properties that can create sleet out of snow. So that may help create ice quicker in that situation. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like the wind will do us a whole lot of favors at this point. And we, again, still have drizzle falling. So it's kind of, I have a feeling that the hopes of evaporation here are kind of losing the race to the freezing temperatures. But again, that's why these school districts want to wait until morning, see if something possibly changes, see if they can make some kind of adjustment there, and see what could possibly help them out, and see early in the morning. Now, the other thing that I want to mention here is that, and I've mentioned this before, one of the messages that is going around from a lot of these school districts is to dress as warm as possible in the morning. The problem is a lot of us Texans, especially in low-income households, we don't have that kind of gear. So somebody asked earlier, how do they do it in the north? Well, they're better prepared up there. They have better jackets and better equipment and those kinds of things. We just don't have that here, right? So, I mean, even if we went with that theory, even if we went with, in fact, I've got redundant logos here. Let me just, that's just a me adjustment. So even if we go with, hey, let's dress warm, let's get extra warm coats, a lot of us are not going to be prepared for 16, 17, 18 degrees and wind chills in the single digits or even below zero. And I mean, when we consider that kids have to, there are some kids that have no choice but to walk to school or ride bikes to school or scooters or what have you. Their parents have to work. And so that's just the reality of the way it is. Not every parent can choose to change things and drive their kids to school. And when they're waiting out on the buses will take extra time. They'll be slower. So that introduces the variable of they don't know how late or not that bus is going to be, so they have to wait. So kids are potentially waiting longer at those bus stops. So those are all things that have to matter in terms of the kind of calculations of what the schools do. Some of these schools may well have already made a decision. They're just waiting until early tomorrow morning to tell you what it is. So there's going to be a number of things to factor into that. Unfortunately, is the abuse that these folks get from the public when people are trying to make that decision, and a lot of the public are frying them over the coals for those decisions. And TCU is still leading Texas Tech, so I need my Red Raiders to pick up the pace. So yeah, Keith Hale, everyone should wear base layers under their pants, long sleeves and coats, long johns. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I have long johns. I don't think the majority of people that I know in Texas have long johns. The majority of people I know aren't that prepared. It's just the way it is. And by the way, everybody that's saying that things are iced over, if you will add your location so that I know where you're talking about. But I mean, seriously, it's not a situation where, I mean, we're just not prepared for this. And whether we should be or not doesn't matter. We have to talk about the way things are. So if I can be so bold as to lobby for these kids a little bit, I mean, these kids have to be out in the elements, whether we like it to be that way or not. So even if a lot of the statements are so ice focused, we got to pay attention to the fact that how dangerous this cold air is going to be tomorrow. Period. End of story. That has to be part of that calculation. So I'm hearing that the Waco area is getting sleet and roads are slippery out there. By the way, ignore these. This is another radar location, and I do not know how to get rid of that. I have looked and looked and looked, and I do not know how to get rid of that. That's a radar tower somewhere way out of our area, so just don't worry about those little dialog boxes that pop up. Marcia Green, you're asking about wind speeds. We'll check that here shortly, and we'll look at wind chill factors as well. The best part is hearing someone at Home Depot asking for snow shovels. Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, and the fact is that snow won't be an issue here, and it's going to be ice, and you can't really shovel that. So, Mountain Peak area in Midlothian starting to freeze on the road. So yeah, I mean, we're at 28 degrees in the Midlothian area, Midway Regional Airport. In fact, Midway Regional Airport is further east than Midlothian. I would venture to say Midlothian proper is probably 27, 26. You get below 28, you start freezing the roads, and that's the way that works. So Keith Hale asking, is it supposed to be colder tomorrow or on Thursday? So Thursday morning will be the coldest temperatures. Now tomorrow we do not get above freezing. Highs will be in the 20s, probably the upper 20s, around 30 degrees. But it will still be very, very cold. My brother was in Walmart at Cleburne for 30 minutes. Doors were already iced over. Yeah, so I mean, that's the thing. Cleburne's 23 degrees. 19 in Granbury, 21 in Stephenville. I mean, you're freezing like that. It's happening very, very quickly in that area. So yeah, Aaron Sylvia from Bahama Plumbing there. Long johns, coveralls, etc. But it's hard to get prepared when it's freezing today and then spring in like 3 or 4 days. That's the thing. We can have as many of these events as we want to. Most people are not going to prepare for what's going to end up being 2, 3, 4 days out of 365. Texans, we just don't get prepared for that kind of cold because we're not going to use that equipment very often at all. And if your weight fluctuates like mine, unfortunately mine's not fluctuating. I'm just staying here. But if we had those different fluctuations in life, we don't want to prepare once for something that may happen a limited number of times. So I just don't expect these kids to be prepared for those kinds of temperatures here. And TCU and Texas Tech playing in Fort Worth, so I'm not sure if it's just getting cold in that arena or what, but you would think that these Lubbock boys would be a lot more prepared for very cold temperatures, because Lubbock gets really, really cold. So not sure why the Red Raiders are falling behind here, but I'm going to keep watching. We'll see what happens. Yeah, Walmart having swimsuit and no warm clothing for kids. Yeah, so that's the other thing too. Walmart usually has the kids out, or the clothes out that's not for this season, it's for whatever's coming up, right? So yeah, Walmart probably has all the swimsuits out right now and nothing actually warm. Yeah, porch and cars iced in Pecan Hill. Corey Barrett taking the boat out this weekend. Yeah, I mean, this weekend we'll be closer to the 50s and 60s. So, we'll be in the 70s by next week. Somebody asking who went out and grabbed some whiskey. Hey, if you had to stock up before we're really cold the next day, that's I'm more of a Scotch guy myself, but yeah, I mean sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Walmart Waxahachie has lots of kids' jackets on clearance. I always thought it was funny that some of these retailers, they're not selling clothing for this season. They're selling for next season. So they're selling jackets on clearance, and all the places that, all the folks that bought jackets for the weather now just got them really cheap. So that always interests me, but I'm sure there's people way high up in the retail corporate world that have more information than I do and know what they're doing. So I'll leave the retail strategizing over to them. But for those of you who are just jumping in, because I do see a few folks that are new to the stream, what we're looking at is what we have: 28 in Midlothian, 23 in in Cleburne, 32 degrees where that freezing line is in Hillsboro, and 39 degrees there in Corsicana. So Corsicana will be, again, the last ones to reach below freezing here, but you can see up in the Metroplex ranging from 25 in Fort Worth to 28 in Dallas, 28 degrees at Burleson, but very cold temperatures in Granbury where it's 19 degrees, 21 degrees in Stephenville. And Jamie praising the crawl we have at the bottom here. This is just giving you details on the warning, the extreme cold warning that is, and the winter weather advisory that we have in effect right now. Hearing another question about lake effect snow. If we get lake effect snow, it will probably just be parts of Ellis and Johnson counties, and probably limited at that point. And Cody, are you the same one that was asking about icy roads and preventing work last time? I think you might have been. Little snow flurries and layer of ice on everything at our house in Midlothian. So hearing reports of snow flurries in Midlothian, and I'm going to check in on that because, again, if you're looking at it in the light, sometimes this freezing drizzle can look like snow. But that said, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we're seeing some lake effect snow developing off of Joe Pole Lake there, moving into the Midlothian area. The Great Pyrenees is making me nervous. I'm afraid he will get frostbite, but he refuses to come inside. He's made for this. And there are some dog breeds, Great Pyrenees and Huskies and the like, that are made for cold weather, and they really enjoy it. So that can be a thing that happens. And Stephen Cole, there's multiple people asking to get out of work tomorrow, so trust me, it's not just you. And we're going to get some reports on the roads there in Midlothian. We've got a contact that is actually going to be out on the roads in Midlothian, so he's going to give us a live report there. Won't have him necessarily on live. We don't really have that set up yet, but he'll be communicating that to me. letting me know what he's seeing out there so that we can kind of get an idea of what we're facing there. And fences are glazing pretty heavily in Grandview. Could be bad for trees, power line if drizzle continues. Yeah, Jay, so that's a good point, and that's something else that I need to kind of address. And I talked about this on the live stream earlier today. If you're looking at power outages overnight, tomorrow morning, do not go yelling about ERCOT, okay? This is not a power grid endangering situation. What you may have is equipment failures, okay? I won't be surprised if there's some power lines that get messed around with this. I won't be surprised if maybe we see, for example, transformers that maybe go out, or power lines even that have some issues with the amount of ice that we have out there. So again, if power goes out, it's not an ERCOT power grid failure at this point. It's going to be potential equipment failures and that kind of thing. And after 2021, understandably to some degree, anytime there's cold air, cold weather, and there's a failure of a power failure of some sort, everybody immediately assumes that ERCOT has failed, it's happening again, and the world is going to end. Fortunately, that's not going to be the case this time. We do not have the kind of widespread, situation here with the statewide major freeze that's going to happen for an extended period of time, right? That's just not the situation that we're looking at. So let's take a look at wind speeds here. Let's see if I can get that queued up. Let's see, I don't think I have speeds here. Now, wind gusts that I can pull up. Now, wind gusts of 30, 31, 30, 28. So wind gusts are pretty impressive out there. And so I would say that wind speeds are probably 10, 15 miles per hour with wind gusts of about 30 in the area. Now, we'll take a look. And winds 23 miles per hour with wind gusts of 30. So that's going to be your average across most of our area. So wind gusts around 20 miles per hour, wind gusts of 30. We'll take a look at the wind chill. Look at this. Look at this. Wind chill. These are wind chill factors. Cleburne, a wind chill of 8. Granbury, wind chill of 3. And this is 12 hours away when kids are going to school, at least in the Waxahachie area. 3 in Granbury. 4 in Stephenville, 17 in Hillsborough, 14 Midway Regional Airport, 30 in Corsicana. These are wind chill factors across our area. So if you need any more of a case for it being too dang cold for, the wind chill, it's covered up by the logo there, but wind chill of 0 in Mineral Wells. So that is where we sit. Here's the latest temperatures, the more temperatures across our area. 28 in Waxahachie, Midway Regional Airport there, between Waxahachie and Ennis. 23 in Cleburne, 30 in Hillsborough, 39 in Corsicana. And Mandy Hersey saying that her husband drove from the Long Branch area towards Mount Peak and said the roads are slippery. And lots of people asking for a call into work note. I unfortunately cannot provide that. How bad do you think it'll get in the Ennis area? The area wide here, this isn't just Ennis, but area wide, we are looking at conditions continuing to deteriorate. I expect at least some ice on the roads. I think the spectrum here is going to be from widespread ice to patches of black ice. I think we may be somewhere in the middle. It's hard to say exactly all 4 counties what it's going to look like. But I think at least all of us will be below freezing tonight. I think some may see thicker ice than others. So a report. All right, so just checking through some information here. So a report from Midlothian. Haven't hit any icy roads yet. Puddles are still liquid for the most part. So And so yeah, in the Midlothian area, you're still at around 28, 27 degrees. So the farther you get below that, that's when you're going to start really seeing those roads icing over. I would say in the Cleburne area, Cleburne on west, probably more widespread icy roads in that area, depending on how much moisture you've gotten today. Um, Amanda Rivera drove from Midlothian to Maypearl and couldn't keep the ice off the windshield or rearview mirrors. So that's a situation that we're looking at. Yeah, so that's kind of the situation we're looking at. We're kind of straddling that line. And we've been getting reports of snow in Midlothian. Not sure what's being seen there. Sometimes your frozen, sometimes the frozen drizzle, mist, that kind of thing, can look like snow the way that it's kind of lightly flowing through the air. But no reports, no confirmed reports, at least eyewitness reports that I've gotten of the snow there in Midlothian. But like I said, Joe Pool Lake is just to your north. And so if there is lake effect snow, that is a possibility from Cedar Hill on down towards the Maypearl area, possibly parts of Waxahachie. And if it's ambitious enough, maybe down into the Maypearl area. So hearing that Metro Floors and Gifts in Ferris will be closed tomorrow, that's following with another store there in Midlothian, or excuse me, in Ferris, that is closed tomorrow as well. So I'm getting a few business. Clay Nugent thinks he's funny with a report of a blizzard in Palmer. Not quite, but not think we're going to see blizzard effects, blizzard conditions tonight. But I've seen a couple of business reports in terms of closures. No schools have reported at this point. So no reports of school closures at this time. I really think that they're going to wait until tomorrow morning after last time getting so much ridicule from the public. The fact that they closed and it turned out that not all of those areas had the ice on the ground. It was all of the uncertainty at that point, that last time, that led to not only the decision to close, but later on, all the uncertainty as far as, why did they close, that kind of thing. It's because we didn't know. We were right on that line. That was the night that we held at 33 degrees all night long. I think we briefly went to 32, but 33 degrees in most of our area all night long. That doesn't happen often. But that's kind of the situation that we were in. So we ended up not really requiring to be closed, but we were because they made an early call. So now they are going to wait until the following morning. Just going back through some comments here and checking. I'm getting different lines of communication. But yeah, no schools at this point have made that decision. It's going to, they're going to wait until tomorrow morning, I'm fairly certain. Now, it may be 4:35 a.m. before those decisions are made. I'm fairly certain in some of these areas, the drivers that go and inspect roads won't have to go far before they find that that these roads are pretty icy. Just try pumping gas and the pumps are slushed over. Karen, where's your location? We want to make sure that there's a location put with these reports so that I get a better idea of what you're seeing out there and where. So Karen, if you'll let us know where you are, but that's generally what we're seeing across our area. And as these temperatures continue to drop, like I say, once we get below that 28-degree mark, we're going to start seeing a continued progression towards further icing. And if we put this into motion here, right now you can see across our area that there's not widespread rain at this point, but we do have some lighter rain there from Corsicana on up through Gun Barrel City, on up into, the Crandall area, I think. But, okay, so Karen, you're Glen Heights. So Glen Heights at Ovilla, on Ovilla at 7-Eleven. So Glen Heights, Ovilla area is where they're seeing some of that slushing going on. 30 degrees now in Hillsboro, so that's an update. So getting colder there And you can see, again, how quickly, look at this, we're in the teens already in Granbury, Stephenville, and points farther west, Hamilton at 21 degrees. And then Corsicana still holding on at the upper 30s, but that freezing line is going to continue to progress, and temperatures will quickly drop once that has moved through. So drizzle continues, and we're getting some kind of back and forth about possible snow in the Midlothian area. Stephanie, you're asking, will we see more rain tonight, or is that just what's on the ground? So drizzle continues across our area. And so as long as we're seeing drizzle, that is going to add to the ice accumulations that we already have on the ground. So expect that to be the case overnight tonight. The more drizzle we see, the more ice we will see in the morning time. So, saying our weather app says 28 in Whitney, that's probably fairly accurate. I mean, we've got 30 degrees there in Hillsborough, so that's probably pretty close. And again, hearing more reports of little baby flurries, as Christy puts it, at 8:75 in McAlpin in Midlothian. And Melody, the same question. Schools are not going to make a decision until tomorrow morning. And far be it for me to try to estimate or speculate on what they're going to do. But I think we will see a decision of some sort, whether it's a closure or a delay or whatever the case is, tomorrow morning. But like I said, we won't get above freezing tomorrow. And if we do, it won't be by much and it won't be for long. So I do expect conditions area-wide to remain crummy across the area tomorrow. That's just probably going to be the reality, unfortunately, for our area. I don't expect much improvement overall. So temperatures area-wide, and you can see that this rain is starting to kind of become a little more impressive here, from Navarro County up through Henderson County, up into Kaufman and Van Zandt counties there, up towards almost to the what am I trying to say there? I'm blanking on the town there. Canton. I don't know why I'm blanking on Canton, but blanking on Canton. Zooming into our area here, this is what we're seeing. 39 in Corsicana. I expect to see an update there soon. Seeing some rain popping up there, so that could present more of an issue with the potential for ice overnight. 30 degrees there in Hillsborough, 28 at Midway Regional Airport between Midlothian and Waxahachie, and then 23 degrees now in Cleburne. Very, very cold. 19 degrees over in the Grandview area. So very cold area wide, no matter which way you look at it. And where we have, again, Corsicana 39, 37 there in Athens. So these temperatures will continue to drop. And you can see a steady drop in Corsicana as that loop keeps going. So they will drop through the 30s. That freezing line will continue to move on east. I'm curious to see how cold Corsicana gets. Corsicana is usually the warmer spot because that freezing line tends to kind of slow down as it starts to get into the more kind of tropical areas for us. And so Red Badkin saying that that Maypro canceled for rain. And like I have been saying, we knew it was rain after the fact, but before then there was more uncertainty. So you cannot judge the decisions that were made based on hindsight, right? Always gotta be thoughtful there. Mike said at 5:45 there was already ice on the outdoor door handles. And Mike, I'm not sure where you're located, so I'm not sure how to apply that information. Trying to get home from Vegas tomorrow afternoon. Will we make it? Well, Shauna, I don't know. I don't exactly know what tomorrow afternoon is going to look like at those area airports. But I would say definitely keep in touch with your airline to make sure that you're updated on that. Josh Garcia, first time I heard Corsicana and the word tropical in the same sentence. So what I mean by that, and if we zoom out on this map, you can see it. I mean, the further east you go, the more green that you have. There's the Trinity River here. You're closer to the Gulf. You're closer to the Deep South. So it does make a little bit of a difference in terms of your I mean, you're definitely more tropical in Corsicana than you are, for example, in Fort Worth or Weatherford. So you just kind of have to consider your geography and how that kind of plays into things. So yeah, I mean, it does make a little bit of a difference. So hearing that roads are slippery in Red Oak, so Ovilla Waxahachie line. So yeah, so they were already seeing some ice on elevated surfaces just before 6 o'clock. So this is looking statewide. I mean, you look at this, and Lubbock is 18 degrees, fairly close to our area. But you look at southern Oklahoma, 9 degrees. They're already in the single digits there in parts of Oklahoma. So very, very cold air, and it's not just here. You go farther north, and it's very, very cold up there. Wichita Falls down to 10 degrees now, and not quite that cold in our area, but Mineral Wells all the way down to 18 degrees. So yeah, 19 degrees there in Stephenville and in Granbury as well there. So definitely have to consider the situation that we're seeing here, the temperatures that we're seeing area wide, and keep in mind that yeah, there's moisture on the roads. There has been moisture on the roads, especially where you got a lot of rain there. And Kim Lopez reporting some ice already forming in the potholes in Italy. So sounds like some of those puddles maybe starting to get a little slushy, maybe a little icy there. That's your first clue that there's probably going to be more widespread ice, because those puddles, the more water you have, the longer that takes to freeze. So if you have just a thin layer of water, that's where you get your black ice. I think that may be the biggest issue. And Scott's saying, curious why they didn't treat the roads like they did for other potential events. Scott, I'm not sure where you are, but TxDOT has been out there treating the roads with brine the last couple of days. I've had multiple reports of that. Now, if it's not a TxDOT road, then TxDOT won't treat it. But they have been out there treating several roads in our area. I've seen that over the past couple of days. I've seen the highways have brine on them. So Billy, Ashley, Medina, I apologize for all the noise back there behind me. Storm or just cold, looks like the precipitation is slacking up as the temps drop, so the most we will have will come by icy puddles that freeze over. So that's the question, right? That's the big question that we have to kind of watch here is, and I'm gonna pause the radar there, but that's the big question, is how much of the ice that is already, or the moisture rather, that's on the roads freezes over. I would venture to say the farther west you go, the farther north you go, the more ice you're going to have on those roads, especially again in those areas that saw a lot of rain today. Because I mean, I'm looking out right now, I still see moisture on my road, and I know that my road will probably get frozen overnight tonight, because again, we're going to be in the low 20s, upper teens, possibly even some mid-teens out there by the time this is all said and done. So we will get colder. Icing over will happen overnight tonight. So the question of how much of that moisture maybe evaporates a little bit versus how much of it just freezes, that remains to be seen. So we still kind of have to hang out and see what happens there. But my guess at this point is that we will probably see at least some ice on the roads in most of our area. And unfortunately, where you have the thin layers of ice, that's black ice, which can be more dangerous because you don't see it. You get overconfident on the roads, don't see it coming, and then all of a sudden you're swirling around and losing control. So that's the case. We just all have to be careful out there. We have to take that into consideration and understand that we're going to continue to get colder as the moisture just kind of hangs out. Josh asking what happened. He thought the wind would dry this up. Well, it's like I said several times, we still have drizzle falling. So even if the wind is drying some of it up, it's still falling. So I mean, we're adding to the moisture on the roads as the winds attempt to dry that out. So that's what we're looking at, right? We will continue to see that become a problem across our area. Now, the school districts are probably still waiting for something maybe to clear this ice up. I think they're probably hanging out and kind of waiting to see how long will that take. How long will it be before we see something change, which is why they're waiting for early tomorrow morning. So 3-4 o'clock they'll be sending drivers out, and I every now and then it does this. Let me see if I can get that to kind of refresh. There we go. All right, so now 36 in Corsicana, so down 3 degrees from our last update. So temperatures continue to okay. Temperatures continuing to drop in the Corsicana area, down to 36 now. Midway Regional Airport down a degree at 27, down 2 degrees. And Cleburne now down to 21 degrees. So temperatures just continue to drop here. And that will be the trend. 30 degrees still holding there in Hillsboro. But this is going to be the trend that we see. 19 degrees holding in Granbury, Stephenville. And let's see, what is that community there? What are we looking at? Comanche, that's right. Okay. The further out we get, the fewer of these towns I have committed to memory. So Stephenville 19, Granbury 19. Don't have a reading there in Meridian, but we do as far as the other parts of our area. And got a report of some freezing drizzle over by the sports complex here in Waxahachie. And again, if you're seeing this, just kind of those little particles that are just kind of floating around, it's not likely to be snow. It's more likely to be freezing drizzle. It's just blowing around. Just because it's not falling straight down does not necessarily mean it's snow. That's more likely to be kind of a mist drizzle situation. So that's what we're seeing out there, if you see that in the light. Araceli Rojo asking about Midlothian here, and just like the rest of our area, falling below freezing. I mean, you can see the 27 degree mark there between Waxahachie and Midlothian. So the Midlothian area getting into the mid-20s, and watching to see how much of this moisture on the roads will continue to freeze over and cause ice issues tomorrow morning. And we've gotten mixed reports here, and we see this precipitation beginning to expand here from near Canton down towards Gun Barrel City, down to Corsicana, and on down towards the Waco area there. So this little band of moisture going to continue to move on. Looks like it's trying to move to the southeast, and so we could see more precipitation that could then freeze as temperatures continue to drop. Red Oak Billy Goodloe Stadium sensor reports 28 degrees, and frozen steps here in Milford. So that's what we're going to see first, is those elevated surfaces, decks, cars, mailboxes, railings, all that stuff. All that's going to freeze first, but it'll take getting below about 28 degrees or so before we start freezing the roads. And you notice Midlothian getting below 28 now. So Midlothian area probably next to start seeing those dropping temperatures affecting the roads and starting to freeze those. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up this live stream, but we will continue, of course, to post updates. And once we get up information about schools, again, schools will probably wait until tomorrow morning to report all of that. And I would say if you have moisture on your roads right now, be prepared for those to freeze over and cause ice issues tomorrow morning. It's not that we don't have school decisions now. We'll have to wait until morning. So just be patient with that. I know that's not everybody's strong suit, but we will have to be patient to see what these schools end up doing. And we will continue to, of course, keep you updated. southmetroweather.com/closures. Go ahead and bookmark that page and check that tomorrow morning for updates on those school decisions. Thank you so much for tuning in, and more updates are to come throughout the night and tomorrow morning as we drop into the teens for overnight lows with wind chills in the single digits or even below zero. Actually, let's do one more check of, now that we got an update on those wind chill factors. So these are wind chills here in our area. 13 degree wind chill at Midway Regional Airport between Waxahachie and Midlothian, 17 degree wind chill in Hillsboro, and 6 degree wind chill in Cleburne, 2-degree wind chill in Granbury, 4-degree wind chill in Stephenville, and 25-degree wind chill there in Corsicana. More updates are to come as very extremely cold temperatures move into north central Texas.